Hi, I'm Luana Rubin from eQuilter.com, and I'm here with Fassett and Brandon Mably, and they're going to tell us about their project and their exhibit here.
Right. Well, the exhibit is all quilts that are made only with shot cottons and stripes that are hand woven in India. So all of the fabrics are hand woven in India. And it's the first time that I've left all of my flowers and cabbages and geometric prints and everything behind and done something so pure as just stripes and shots. So it's made an interesting book.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were afraid that people would be saying, where have all the flowers gone?
Yes.
But it's actually quite beautiful because, you know, when you look at trees in the wintertime and there's no leaves, you see the bare structure on the trees. Well, here you get to see that we basically are traditional quilters. And we're using a traditional structure, but this is just using sort of solid, pure palette of colours without too much fussy detail. It's been an extraordinary exercise. And people have leapt at it, absolutely leapt it up. It's been wonderful to see.
I'm amazed how much people like it, because my feeling was they were going to want my Baroque flowers or nothing. But I guess we made enough excitement out of stripes that people really respond to it, particularly this quilt, which is called Handkerchief Corners, and it's all these, mitered stripes. It's quite
Very
fun.
striking.
Yeah.
And you know what it reminds me of is the modern quilt movement. I don't know if you're consciously influenced by that, but
Well,
they're very striking to me.
I mean, they have taken me to their heart, which is an extraordinary feeling, because I like a lot of the things that they're getting into. Kind of quite a fresh approach to design. So it's exciting to be accepted by them.
It is.
You know, our world is primarily we're artists, and our world is about trying to encourage people to have a go and find their own voice. So what's wonderful about these is we're throwing out a recipe and people might choose exactly the palette that we've chosen, or they might say, I love the idea of that, but I'm going to throw in a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you see,
make it their own.
Yeah, and you see something come out of that. I mean, what's been very exciting about this exhibition is seeing people pour in and say, oh, that's my favorite. Oh, I love that. And look at the way that's actually only just made up with a repetition of a square. And that's very exciting because suddenly you're realizing the light's been turned on, rather than people walk back by and say, oh, don't like that. Oh, I love that. You know, they're really stopping to look because they're nice and pure and quite clean. So
Yes.
yeah.
And that modern quilter design aesthetic is so clean and pure. I think you've added just a little more pizzazz to it than what we saw at QuiltCon. But I think there's a place in the middle between where you've come from and where the modern quilters are going that's really keep your eye on that spot, don't you think?
Yeah. No, I do.
Yeah.
I love that saying the Shakers have, "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free." And I hold on to that. Yeah.
Well, let's go talk about your book and look at another quilt.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, tell us about your new book. And I do want to say that this chevron quilt behind us, speaking of modern quilters, is really fabulous.
Well, I'll talk about this because this chevron was designed for the great Missoni family. And so I'm calling it Rosita Missoni because they do the most wonderful things with zigzags, as everyone knows. That knows their wonderful work. The best knitters in the world, for those people who don't know. But it was wonderful to take a similar idea to theirs, but do it all in my stripes. And I mean, it's my favorite quilt in the book, so I'm really, really pleased how a simple diamond, just repeated and repeated, comes out this extraordinary blast of shape and color. But the book is really exciting, and that's the book, Shots and Stripes, and it's very, very exciting to me to be able to do these big pools of color, and sometimes elaborating it with stripes, but sometimes just the shot cottons. And I like, the strength and the pure sort of shapes. And of course, it really shows up the old traditional shapes and shows people.
That's another point. People have been saying, why shots? And it basically the solid fabrics have a two-color warp and a weft, and so they're slightly iridescent, but they're 100% cotton. So they're not a flat kind of palette. They have a little bit of a
shimmer.
They kind of wink at you, and so they make them more desirable, shall we say.
Yes, and I just have to say, of course, eQuilter we are carrying this book, and we carry all of your yarn dyes, your shot cottons, because we love them, and our customers love them too.
Well, great.
Well, thank goodness for eQuilter.
And they've moved very well since the book. So
yes,
it's very nice. And this is another one that I did from a collage of that I saw in Africa on a wall. It was all made out of old ripped up magazines and newspapers and things. It was just brilliant.
Wow.
That kind of inventiveness you get out of very poor communities in Africa that is just like nothing else. And so it was wonderful to take that idea and do it as a quilt. And people are enjoying seeing that in the flesh too.
Yeah. Here we are in front of a third quilt that I wanted to show you, and I wonder if you could tell us about this quilt design.
Well, this is very simply an Amish basket design, but and the one that I saw that I was working from was all done in plaids mostly and some stripes. So I did the whole thing in stripes and some shot cottons. So that was fun to do. But let's talk about Egypt, because we want to talk about this wonderful trip we made with Amy Butler and David.
We were discussing a few minutes ago that Amy Butler came to Boulder, and we had lunch together, and she told me about this fabulous trip that you guys took together.
It was the most extraordinary experience. We flew into Luxor, and then we were met at the airport, driven to the side of the Nile, and a boat greeted us, which was just covered in carpets and textiles, and it was just kind of the opening page to this extraordinary week of experience that we were about to have. And we stayed in this hotel which had kind of dome roofs, and it was these off-the-wall murals. It was really magical, and there were dancing horses at the side of the Nile when we were just taking a cruise down, just on a sailing boat, down to experience the sunset.
And of course a wedding.
An
extraordinary wedding with all dancing and singing and big mamas dancing. It was just wonderful.
It was the most, and it was also so beautiful to experience it with David and Amy too, because we were all seeing it through one another's eyes. I mean, in some ways, the colours that you're seeing in this quilt were the colours that we were experiencing in Egypt. And then we were also with a chap who was an Egyptologist, and so he took us into the tombs and explained what the different symbols were about. And God, it was so profound. And so it really hurts me when we hear about the trouble in Egypt happening at the moment, because it's like, I want everybody to go and experience what we did. I felt like I was living on the most incredibly colourful dream possible, and I was sharing it with the gorgeous butlers.
Yes.
And that trouble is only localized in the middle of Cairo, so people should go. They need tourists, and it's the most rich experience in the world.
And the food too. The food was so delicious. Everything. It was just the light. People were so humble. They were so grateful for us. We all bought ourselves. We were taken to a local cloth shop. We all bought material. We had garments made overnight, and then the next day we were wearing our jalabias.
Great.
It was fabulous. It really was exciting.
Well, we hope for the people of Egypt that things get sorted out soon, very soon.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you so much for your time here at the Birmingham Quilt Festival.
And it's funny seeing you over this side of the pond, because
is.
usually we're bumping into one another in Houston and all the other fairs. So,
yeah, that's right.
So thank you for coming over to our part of the world.
Absolutely, I love it. Great. Well, thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.